Silence filled the observation pod like poison. Lydia Cross pressed her forehead against the cold, transparent wall and watched the 7 most powerful beings in known space decide her species' fate. 300 years of peace meant nothing now. 3 centuries of cooperation, trade, and friendship had crumbled in less than 6 hours of debate. The Galactic Council chamber stretched before her like an arena. Each of the 7 dominant species occupied massive platforms that floated in perfect formation around a central holographic display. The Vryn held the highest position, as they always did. Their chancellor, a being named Morven, gestured with 4 of his 6 arms as he spoke. His translator device turned his clicking speech into words every species could understand. Humanity has contributed nothing of value to our civilization, Morven announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. Their technology remains primitive after 3 centuries among us. Their military consists of outdated fusion-powered vessels that barely qualify as spaceflight. Their worlds contain valuable resources that are wasted under their management. Lydia clenched her fists. She wanted to scream. She wanted to tell them they were making the greatest mistake in galactic history, but her microphone had been disabled 2 hours ago. The human delegation pod had been reduced to a spectator box, and she could do nothing but watch. The representative from the Krell Confederacy spoke next. His species resembled tall, slender birds with scales instead of feathers. The human colonies produce agricultural yields that could feed 3 times their current population. Under proper administration, those worlds could solve food shortages across multiple systems. Proper administration, Lydia whispered bitterly. They meant occupation. They meant slavery with pretty words painted over it. The Yaltron delegate shifted her massive bulk. Her species had evolved in heavy gravity, making them look like living boulders with too many eyes. I propose we divide the human worlds according to contribution to this council. The Vryn have provided the most military support. They should receive Earth and Mars. The Krell may take the agricultural colonies. My people will accept the mining operations on the outer worlds. They were carving up humanity like a meal. Lydia felt sick. The vote came swiftly. 7 voices, 7 species, unanimous agreement. Humanity would be stripped of sovereignty within 48 hours. Occupation fleets were already in position. The council had planned this for months, maybe years. Today's debate had been nothing but theater, a performance to give their conquest an appearance of legitimacy. Morven turned his primary eyes toward Lydia's observation pod. Ambassador Cross, you may return to your people. Tell them to prepare for transition to council administration. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. Cooperation will be rewarded with comfortable positions within the new structure. You have 2 standard days to deliver Earth's surrender. The microphone in her pod activated with a soft click. Lydia stood slowly. Every eye in the chamber focused on her. She knew what they expected. They wanted her to beg. They wanted her to plead for mercy, to offer Earth's resources freely in exchange for some scrap of autonomy. Instead, she smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret, and that smile made several delegates shift uncomfortably. I will deliver your message, Chancellor Morven, Lydia said softly. Humanity will respond within your deadline. She turned and walked away from the window. The door to her pod slid open and she stepped into the corridor beyond. Her hand shook slightly as she made her way through the station toward the docking bay where her ship waited. Other species moved through the halls, going about their business. None of them knew what had just happened. None of them knew their lives were about to change forever. A young Vryn approached her near the docking bay entrance. He wore the simple robes of a junior diplomat, someone too unimportant to attend the main session. His name tag identified him as Pellin, Ambassador Cross, he said quietly, his translator making his voice sound nervous. I need to tell you something. The fleets will attack regardless of your answer. The Council has already given the order. Surrender or fight, they plan to fire on your colonies in exactly 48 hours. Lydia studied his face. Vryn expressions were hard to read, but she saw genuine concern there. Why are you telling me this? Because I studied human history at university, Pellin whispered. Your species survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near-extinction events. You reached your own moon using chemical rockets and mathematics. You built a civilization from nothing. The Council sees you as weak because your ships are slow and your weapons are simple. But I read your histories. I know what humans do when cornered. What do we do? Lydia asked. You survive, Pellin said. Whatever it costs, whatever it takes. You survive. I think the Council has made a terrible mistake, and I am sorry. He hurried away before she could respond. Lydia continued to her ship, a small diplomatic vessel designed for travel between worlds. It had basic defensive shields and no weapons. Like everything else humanity showed the Council, it was deliberately unimpressive. She sealed herself in the cockpit and activated the quantum communications array. The message she sent contained only 2 words and an encryption only Earth's military would recognize. 2 words that would change everything. Winter Protocol. The response came back instantly. A single line of text appeared on her screen. Acknowledged. Welcome home, General Cross. Lydia set course for Earth and engaged the ship's drive. As she accelerated away from the Council station, she allowed herself one moment of satisfaction. The Council thought they knew humanity. They thought 3 centuries of observation had revealed everything worth knowing. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Far beyond Neptune, in the darkness between worlds, something ancient and terrible was waking up. Humanity's real fleet, hidden for 2.5 centuries, was coming online. Thousands of ships that should not exist. Technology the Council believed impossible. Weapons that would make their mighty armadas look like toys. The heavens were about to shatter, and the Council had brought it on themselves. Ice covered everything. 2 kilometers beneath Antarctica's frozen surface, General Raymond Torres walked through corridors carved from ancient rock. The air smelled clean and cold, filtered and recycled by systems built before he was born. Holographic displays lined the walls, showing him what he needed to see. 7 Council occupation fleets moving into attack positions. Thousands of enemy ships surrounding human worlds like predators circling wounded prey. Raymond felt no fear. He had been waiting for this moment his entire life. His father had waited before him. His grandmother before that. 5 generations of the Torres family had served in the cathedral, protecting humanity's greatest secret. The cathedral. That was what they called this place. Not because anyone worshipped here, but because of how it made people feel. The main command center opened before him like the inside of a vast church. Hundreds of officers sat at their stations, monitoring systems the Galactic Council did not know existed. The ceiling rose 30 meters overhead, covered in screens that showed every human world, every hidden facility, every secret that had been kept for 250 years. General on deck, someone called out. But Raymond waved them down. Stay focused on your work, he said. Today is not a day for ceremony. His second-in-command approached. Dr. Nina Okafor had been the chief scientist of Earth's real military program for 12 years. She carried a data tablet, her fingers dancing across its surface as she reviewed calculations that would mean nothing to Council scientists. All ships report ready status, Nina said. We have 4,217 vessels in position. Stealth fields are holding. The Council fleets have no idea we are here. What about the antimatter reserves? Raymond asked. Sufficient for 3 months of sustained combat operations. The reactors are running at 98% efficiency. Graviton field generators are calibrated and tested. We are as ready as we will ever be. Raymond nodded and moved to the central command platform. From here, he could see everything. Mars with its domed cities holding 5 million people, surrounded by a Vryn occupation fleet. Europa Station, humanity's gateway to the outer colonies, blockaded by Krell warships. The orbital platforms above Earth itself, each one targeted by enough firepower to turn continents to glass. The Council thought they were being clever. They had spent months positioning their forces, using training exercises and patrol rotations to disguise their true intentions. They believed humanity's primitive sensors could not track their movements. They were right about that. Humanity's public sensors, the ones the Council knew about, saw exactly what they were supposed to see. But humanity's real sensors, the quantum detection arrays hidden throughout the solar system, saw everything. Raymond thought about his grandmother. She had been there at the beginning, 250 years ago when humanity first encountered the Galactic Council. Earth had just developed faster-than-light travel, crude quantum fold drives that barely worked. Human ships had stumbled into Council space by accident, and the meeting had seemed like a miracle. 7 advanced species, thousands of years older than humanity, welcomed Earth into their civilization. They offered trade, technology, and friendship. It was everything humans had dreamed of. First contact had gone perfectly, almost too perfectly. His grandmother had been a junior officer on that first diplomatic mission. She told Raymond the story before she died. She remembered the way the council representatives had looked at the human delegation. Not with respect, not with curiosity, with calculation, with the cold assessment of merchants evaluating merchandise. Within a year, a secret project began. Earth's best scientists and engineers were gathered in hidden facilities. Their mission was simple and terrifying. Build a real military one the council would never see coming. Make humanity look weak while becoming strong. Prepare for the day the council's friendly mask slipped. We knew they would come for us eventually, Raymond's grandmother had told him. Species do not get that powerful by being nice. They get powerful by taking what they want. We just needed to make sure we had something to surprise them with when they tried. The resources had come from the outer dark. Automated mining facilities, hidden in the asteroid belt and beyond, had harvested materials for centuries. Shipyards were built in the Oort cloud, so far from the sun that no council patrol would ever stumble across them. Humans had shown the council outdated fusion drives and chemical thrusters while secretly developing antimatter, reactors and gravity manipulation. Technology. Every ship that visited a council world was deliberately primitive. Every piece of technology humanity shared was decades out of date. For 2.5 centuries, humanity had played the role of the slow student, the backward species that needed guidance from their betters, and the council had believed every moment of it. Sir, one of the tactical officers called out, council fleet commanders are sending final demands to our colonies. They are giving planetary governments 1 hour to begin surrender procedures. Let them send their demands, Raymond said calmly. Nina, prepare to drop stealth fields on my mark. Standing by, Nina confirmed. Raymond watched the displays. 7 council fleets, 40,000 warships total. Against humanity's public defense forces, it would be a massacre. Earth's visible military numbered maybe 300 ships, all of them with technology the council considered laughable. But the council was not fighting humanity's public military today. All ships. This is General Torres. Raymond spoke into the communication system that connected him to thousands of captains waiting in the darkness. 250 years ago, our ancestors made a choice. They chose to prepare for this day. They chose to protect us. Now it is our turn. Show the council what humanity really is. Drop stealth fields. Let them see what they are actually facing. Across the solar system, on every human world, around every threatened colony, something impossible happened. Space rippled. Reality bent. Stealth fields that had hidden ships for months and years suddenly deactivated. 4,000 human warships appeared where sensors had shown empty space seconds before. High Chancellor Morvan, sitting on his command ship near Mars, stared at his tactical display in horror. His sensor officer was screaming something about impossible power readings, about ship designs that violated known physics, about weapons that should not exist. The numbers did not make sense. His fleet of 8,000 ships suddenly faced opposition that outmatched them in every way. His tactical computer was still trying to classify the human vessels when Raymond's voice came through on all frequencies. Council fleets, this is General Raymond Torres of Earth Defense Command. You came to conquer us. Instead, you are going to learn why that was a mistake. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted from human space. This is your only warning. The war had begun, but it would not last long. Weapons fire turned space into a light show. Captain Owen Briggs gripped the arms of his command chair as the Valkyrie accelerated toward the Vryn Third Fleet. Around him, his bridge crew worked with the efficiency of people who had trained for this moment their entire careers. No one spoke unless necessary. Every movement had purpose. Through the main view screen, Owen watched Mars grow larger. The red planet had been humanity's first successful colony, home to 5 million people who lived in vast underground cities. Those people were counting on him now. The Vryn fleet surrounding their world had come to conquer. Owen had come to stop them. Enemy fleet is holding formation, his tactical officer reported. Her name was Lisa, and she had been tracking council, military movements for 8 years from a hidden listening post. They still have not adjusted to our presence. Their commanders are confused. They thought we would be easy prey, Owen said. How long until we are in range? 40 seconds. Lisa answered. All weapon systems charged and ready. railguns loaded, energy banks at maximum capacity. Owen had seen the intelligence reports. The Vryn Third Fleet consisted of 2,400 warships. Each one was 300 meters long, armed with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. They used shield technology that could deflect most known weapons. Their armor was composed of alloys that could withstand enormous punishment. Against humanity's public military, they would have been unstoppable. Against the Valkyrie and her sister ships, they were already dead. They just did not know it yet. "All ships, this is Briggs," Owen spoke into the fleet channel. "Execute attack pattern Delta 7, target their command vessels first. Disable, do not destroy if possible. Remember, most of those crews were just following orders." His weapons officer looked up. "Sir, they are firing on us." The view screen lit up with incoming plasma bolts. Hundreds of superheated projectiles screamed across space toward the human fleet. Owen watched them come. Each bolt contained enough energy to vaporize a normal ship. "Shields holding at 99%, his engineering officer reported. Barely felt that. The Vryn plasma weapons had been designed to overwhelm shields through sustained bombardment. But human shields did not work like Council shields. Instead of deflecting energy, they used gravity fields to bend space itself. The plasma bolts passed through areas of warped reality and lost most of their power before ever reaching the hull. "Return fire," Owen ordered. "Target their flagship, railguns only. Show them what real kinetic weapons look like." The Valkyrie shuddered as her main guns fired. Railguns had been used by humanity for centuries, but these were not the primitive magnetic accelerators the Council had seen. These weapons used gravity manipulation to accelerate projectiles to 15% of light speed. Each tungsten rod carried the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon. The Vryn flagship tried to maneuver. It was too slow. 3 projectiles struck its forward section in less than a second. The enemy shields flashed and failed. Armor that could withstand plasma fire crumpled like paper. The massive ship spun out of control, atmosphere venting from dozens of breaches. "Direct hit," Lisa confirmed. "Enemy flagship is disabled but intact. Life support still functioning." Around the Valkyrie, the rest of the human fleet engaged. 200 ships against 2,000. The number should have favored the Vryn. Instead, it was a slaughter. Human vessels moved through space with impossible agility, their gravity drives allowing them to ignore inertia and momentum. They could accelerate, stop, and change direction in ways that broke every rule of physics the Council understood. Vryn ships fired desperately. Plasma bolts and quantum torpedoes filled space with deadly light. Almost none of it mattered. Human shields held against everything the enemy could throw at them. When weapons did penetrate, hitting the armored hulls beneath, the damage was minimal. Human ship armor used materials the Council had deemed too expensive and difficult to produce. Humanity had been producing it in secret for 2 centuries. "Enemy fleet is breaking formation," Lisa reported. "Multiple ships attempting to retreat." "Let them run," Owen said. "Our objective is Mars, not revenge. Disable any ship that remains a threat. Allow anyone who runs to leave the system." The battle lasted 17 minutes. At the end of it, the Vryn Third Fleet no longer existed as a fighting force. 800 ships had been disabled, their weapons destroyed and their engines crippled. Another 600 had fled into faster-than-light travel, running for Council space with tales of impossible human technology. The remaining 1,000 ships had surrendered, their commanders too shocked to continue fighting. Not a single human vessel had been destroyed. Owen stood from his command chair and walked to the view screen. Mars hung before him, safe and free. On the planet's surface, 5 million people were celebrating. They had watched the entire battle through observatory telescopes and public cameras. They had seen their defenders arrive from nowhere and crush an enemy fleet in minutes. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet," his communications officer said. "The governor wants to thank you personally." "Tell the governor we were just doing our job," Owen replied. "Ask him to prepare medical facilities. We have enemy wounded who need treatment." Lisa looked up from her station. "Captain, similar results are being reported from all 12 threatened systems. The Council occupation fleets have been defeated. Human casualties are minimal, Enemy casualties are high, but mostly from disabled ships, not destroyed ones. Owen nodded slowly. General Torres had been clear about the rules of engagement. Humanity was defending itself, not committing genocide. Every disabled ship would be offered medical assistance. Every prisoner would be treated according to the laws of war. The Council had come expecting to conquer a primitive species. Instead, they had discovered that humans had spent 2 centuries preparing for this exact scenario. But the fighting was not over. Owen knew what came next. The Council would not accept defeat easily. They would send more fleets. They would rally their forces and try again. They had thousands of worlds and trillions of citizens. They could afford losses that would break a smaller civilization. New orders coming through, Lisa announced. General Torres is directing all fleets to hold position and secure the systems we have liberated. He says the Council is gathering reinforcements at the Sara Prime. We are to wait for Phase 2. Phase 2? Owen's engineering officer asked. Owen smiled grimly. We defended our homes. Now we go on the offensive. The Council needs to understand this is not a fight they can win. Torres is taking the war to them. Across the view screen, the stars shone cold and distant. Somewhere out there, the Council was realizing they had awakened something terrible. Humanity had hidden in plain sight for 250 years, playing weak while growing strong. Now the mask was off, and the Council would pay the price for their arrogance. The Valkyrie turned away from Mars and began accelerating toward deep space. Behind her, 1,000 captured enemy ships sat under guard, their crews detained but alive. Owen had followed his orders. He had defended without unnecessary killing. He had shown restraint, but restraint had limits, and the Council was about to discover what happened when humanity's patience ran out. Numbers scrolled across the display faster than thought. High Chancellor Morven watched casualty reports update in real time and felt something he had not experienced in his long life. Fear. Pure, cold fear that made his 6 arms tremble despite his efforts at control. 6 days. The war had lasted only 6 days, and the Galactic Council had lost 40% of its military fleet. 40%, thousands of ships destroyed or captured, hundreds of thousands of crew members dead or detained, and the humans had lost 11 vessels. 11. How is this possible? The Krell representative demanded. His feathers were puffed out in agitation, making him look twice his normal size. Our intelligence showed primitive fusion drives and basic kinetic weapons. Their technology was centuries behind ours. Our intelligence was wrong, Morvan said quietly. Or rather, the humans lied for 250 years and we believed them. The Emergency War Council chamber felt too small. 7 species that had ruled known space for millennia now sat together in a room that smelled of panic and recrimination. Holographic displays showed the situation in brutal detail. Human fleets were no longer defending. They were attacking. 3 council worlds had fallen under blockade. Supply lines were being cut. Military bases were being neutralized. The Yaltran delegate slammed one massive hand against the table. We should have seen this coming. The humans asked for peaceful coexistence when we first met them. We dismissed them as backward. We took their resources through unfair trade agreements. We treated them like children. And all along, they were preparing for this moment. The Yaltran Commonwealth hereby withdraws from this conflict, another Yaltran representative announced. We will not send more of our people to die in a war we should never have started. We propose immediate peace negotiations with humanity. Coward, Morvan snapped. We outnumber them 100 to 1. We have thousands of worlds. We can replace our losses, can we? The Krell delegate asked. In 6 days, they have proven their ships are faster, their weapons are stronger, and their technology is more advanced than anything we possess. How many more ships do you want to lose, Chancellor? How many more lives? Morvan's translator picked up a notification. He glanced at his personal display and felt his blood turn to ice. The human fleet had arrived at the Sara Prime, their homeworld. The seat of council power for 3,000 years. Humanity's vessels were forming a blockade around the planet. Nothing could enter or leave. They are here, Morvan whispered. They dare to attack the Sara Prime itself. They are not attacking, a new voice said. Pellin, the junior diplomat who had warned the human ambassador, stepped forward from where he had been standing against the wall. They are containing us. They could destroy this station and everyone on it. Their weapons are more than capable, but they have not fired a single shot. They are making a statement. What statement? Morven demanded. That they do not need to destroy us, that they are better than we are. Pellin pulled up his own data display. I have been monitoring human communications. They are broadcasting on all frequencies in every council language. They are telling our citizens the truth about how this war started, about the vote to annex their worlds, about our plans to enslave them. The truth is spreading across our networks faster than we can suppress it. The Ultron delegate nodded. My government has already received protests from millions of citizens. They do not support this war. They believe the humans are defending themselves justly. Morven felt control slipping away. The council had ruled through a combination of military power and carefully managed information. Now the humans had neutralized their military advantage and were destroying their control of the narrative. Public opinion was turning against the council leadership faster than he could counter it. We still have the catalyst array, Morvan said slowly, the precursor technology we have studied for centuries. If we activate it, we could destroy the human fleet. The entire chamber went silent. Every delegate stared at Morvan with expressions ranging from shock to horror. The array is forbidden, the Krell delegate said. We do not understand the technology. Our scientists believe activating it could be catastrophic. What choice do we have? Morvan asked. Let the humans dictate terms to us? Allow them to dismantle the council? I will not permit it. I will activate the array myself if necessary. Pellin stepped forward again. Chancellor, if you do this, you will kill billions. The array is connected to stars across multiple systems. The simulations show massive instabilities. You could trigger supernovas. Then the humans will die with us, Morvan said coldly. Better that than surrender. He reached for the activation codes. Ancient authorization protocols that had been passed down through generations of council leadership. The catalyst array had been discovered 10,000 years ago, remnants of a civilization that had vanished before the council even existed. No one knew what its original purpose was, but the council had learned it could manipulate stellar physics in ways that seemed like magic. Pellin made a decision that would change his life forever. He pulled a small device from his pocket and activated it. Instantly, every computer system in the chamber went dead. Emergency backups kicked in, but it was too late. The activation codes Morvan had just entered were copied and transmitted to every network in council space, including the human fleet. What have you done? Morvan screamed. I have given humanity the information they need to stop you, Pellin said calmly. I have also transmitted evidence of this conversation to every major news network in council space. Your citizens will know you tried to commit genocide rather than accept defeat. Your career is over, Chancellor. You are finished. Security officers moved toward Pellin, but other delegates held them back. The Ultron representative spoke first. The boy is right. Morvan has gone too far. I call for an immediate vote of no confidence. Seconded, the Krell delegate added. But it was already too late. The catalyst array had been activated. Deep within 7 different star systems, ancient devices began to wake. Technology that predated the council by millennia started to affect the stars themselves. Fusion reactions that had burned steadily for billions of years suddenly became unstable. A priority message came through on every screen in the chamber. It was from human scientists, transmitted minutes after receiving Pellin's stolen data. Attention, Galactic Council. We have analyzed the catalyst array activation. 7 stars will go supernova within 36 hours. 16 inhabited worlds are at risk. Combined casualties estimated at 14 billion lives, including both council and human populations. We believe the process can be stopped, but only through cooperation between our technologies. We propose immediate joint operation to prevent catastrophe. General Raymond Torres, Earth Defense Command. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted at each other. Security forces arrested Morvan on the spot. The Ultron and Krell representatives were already trying to contact human commanders. Pellin stood quietly in the middle of the chaos and watched the consequences of his actions unfold. He had betrayed his own species to save billions of lives. History would judge whether he had made the right choice. But at least there would be history. At least there would be survivors to remember. Outside the station, human and council ships received simultaneous orders. The war was no longer the priority. Survival was. Former enemies would have to become allies, at least long enough to prevent the extinction of billions. The heavens were shattering, but not from weapons. From the consequences of pride and the terrible cost of ancient technology, no one truly understood. Time ran like water through open fingers. General Raymond Torres stared at the countdown displayed across every screen in the cathedral. 31 hours until the first star went supernova. 31 hours to save 14 billion lives. We have received cooperation agreements from 4 council species, Nina Okafor reported. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes from 3 days without sleep. The Yeltran, Krell, and 2 others have provided full technical specifications for their quantum field generators. The Vrin are still deciding. They do not have time to decide, Raymond said. What about our graviton manipulation systems? Can they stabilize the stellar reactions? In theory, yes. But we need the Council's quantum containment technology to create stable fields around each star. Our technology and theirs were designed independently. We have to integrate systems that were never meant to work together, and we have to do it perfectly on the first try. Raymond looked at the star charts. 7 systems, 7 dying stars, each one surrounded by inhabited worlds full of people who had nothing to do with the Council's decision to attack humanity. Civilians, children, people who just wanted to live their lives. How many ships do we need for each operation? Raymond asked. Minimum of 10 vessels per star, 5 human ships providing graviton manipulation, 5 council ships providing quantum containment. But the procedure requires entering the stellar corona. Radiation levels will be extreme. Even our best shields will fail after a few minutes of exposure. So it is a suicide mission? Nina met his eyes. For some of the crews, yes. The simulations show we will lose ships. We will lose people. But if we do not try, billions die. Raymond made his decision instantly. Send out a call for volunteers. Make sure everyone understands the risks. And Nina, get our best scientists working with the Council's people. I do not care about security classifications anymore. Share everything. Hold nothing back. Across space, captains received the mission briefing. They learned about the precursor technology that was killing stars. They learned about the desperate plan to stop it. And they learned that volunteering meant accepting a high probability of death. Every single captain volunteered. Captain Owen Briggs read the mission parameters 3 times, making sure he understood. The Valkyrie would lead a joint task force to the Rilios system. 4 inhabited worlds, 3 billion people, 1 dying star that would explode in 28 hours. We have been assigned 5 council ships, Lisa reported. 3 Yaltran heavy cruisers and 2 Krell science vessels. They will provide the quantum containment fields. We provide the graviton manipulation. Have we ever worked with council ships before? Owen asked. Not like this. We have fought them. We have captured them. But working together? This is new. Owen opened a communication channel to the council vessels. This is Captain Owen Briggs of the human ship Valkyrie. I understand we have been assigned to work together. Let us begin coordination immediately. We do not have time for politics or pride. A moment later, a reply came through. The voice was translated from Yaltran, deep and rumbling. This is Commander Rillian of the Yaltran cruiser Stonebreaker. We are ready to work with you, human. My crew understands the stakes. They spent the next 6 hours running simulations and coordinating their approach. Human and council engineers worked together, sharing technical data and developing integration protocols. Language barriers slowed things down, but desperation drove everyone forward. The journey to Rilios took 12 hours at maximum speed. When they arrived, the star was already showing visible instabilities. Massive solar flares erupted from its surface. Radiation levels were climbing. The planets in the system had begun emergency evacuations, but there was not enough time to move 3 billion people. All ships, this is Briggs, Owen transmitted to his task force. We go in together. Human ships will establish the graviton field matrix. Council ships will activate quantum containment as soon as we give the signal. Stay in formation. If anyone's shields fail, pull back immediately. We need you alive. The Valkyrie led the formation toward the dying star. Space around them turned hostile. Radiation hammered against their shields. Temperature readings climbed to levels that should have been impossible. The star's surface churned like a living thing, fighting against the ancient technology that was destroying it. Graviton generators at maximum output, the engineering officer reported. We are creating localized space-time distortions around the star's core. It should slow the fusion reaction. Council ships, activate quantum containment now, Owen ordered. The 5 council vessels moved into position. Technology that had been designed to contain small-scale quantum reactions suddenly had to work on a stellar scale. Energy fields invisible to normal sight wrapped around the star-like cage. The graviton distortions from human ships and the quantum containment from council vessels began to interact, creating a stable matrix. For a moment, it seemed to work. The star's surface calmed, solar flares diminished, radiation levels began to drop. Then one of the Krell science vessels lost shield power. The radiation was too much. The ship's hull began to glow red from the heat. "Krell vessel, pull back," Owen shouted. "Negative," the Krell captain responded. "If we withdraw, the containment field collapses. We will hold position as long as possible." The Krell ship held for another 90 seconds. Its shields failed completely. Its hull began to melt. At the last possible moment, the crew activated their emergency teleportation systems and beamed themselves to the nearest human ship. The Krell vessel died, consumed by stellar fire, but the containment field held. "Quantum field is stable," Lisa reported. "Graviton matrix is holding. The star is stabilizing." It took another hour of careful manipulation, an hour of human and council ships working in perfect coordination, maintaining the fields that kept a star from exploding. When it was finally over, when the stellar reactions had returned to normal levels, Owen felt like he had aged 10 years. "Mission successful," he transmitted to all ships. "The star is stable. Rilios is safe." Similar reports came in from the other 6 systems. 4 successes. 2 partial successes where the stars were stable, but more volatile than before, and 1 failure. The 7th star in an uninhabited system could not be saved. The joint task force there managed to redirect the explosion using massive graviton fields, channeling the supernova's energy into deep space where it would harm no one, but they lost 3 ships doing it. Human and council crews died together, sacrificing themselves to save others. General Torres received all the reports in silence. They had saved over 14 billion lives, but the cost had been 17 ships and over 2,000 crew members from multiple species. "Prepare casualty lists," Raymond ordered quietly. "I want full honors for everyone we lost. Human and council alike. They died as heroes." Nina touched his shoulder gently. "We did it, Raymond. We saved them." "Yes," Raymond agreed. "And now comes the hard part. We have to build a peace from all of this. We have to make sure their deaths meant something." Across council space, citizens watched the recordings of joint human council operations. They saw former enemies working together to prevent disaster. They saw human ships shielding council vessels with their own shields. They saw council crews sacrificing themselves alongside humans. Public opinion shifted like a tide. The war no longer made sense to anyone except the politicians who had started it. Calls for peace echoed across thousands of worlds. The heavens had nearly shattered. Instead, cooperation had held them together, at least for now. Gardens grew where weapons once threatened. Lydia Cross walked through flowering paths on Verdania, a neutral world chosen specifically because no major species had ever claimed it. Around her, delegates from 40 different civilizations gathered in small groups, talking quietly about the future. 3 months had passed since the crisis. 3 months since human and council forces had worked together to prevent catastrophe. 3 months of difficult negotiations and harder truths. The old Galactic Council was dead. Not officially dissolved yet, but dead in every way that mattered. Half its member species had withdrawn. The other half were dealing with political upheaval as their citizens demanded answers about how the war had started. Morvan was in prison, awaiting trial. Dozens of other council officials faced similar charges. The evidence Pellin had leaked showed clearly that the annexation of human worlds had been planned for years, that trade agreements had been deliberately structured to exploit humanity, that the council's leadership had viewed humans as resources to be harvested, not people to be respected. "Ambassador Cross," a familiar voice called. Lydia turned to see Pellin approaching. The young Vryn diplomat looked different now. Older somehow, though only months had passed. The weight of his choices showed in his eyes. "Pellin," Lydia said warmly, "I heard you are teaching now." "Yes, at the new Interspecies Relations Institute. We are trying to ensure the next generation does not repeat our mistakes." He paused, then added quietly, "I wanted to apologize again, for my species, for what we tried to do." "You personally saved billions of lives by leaking that data," Lydia reminded him. "Your people should be proud of you." "Some are. Others call me a traitor. It depends on who you ask. Pellin looked around at the gathering delegates. Do you think this will work? A new government built on equality instead of hierarchy? I think we have to try, Lydia said. The alternative is more war, and no one wants that. They walked together toward the main conference hall. Inside, the architecture was deliberately symbolic. No species had a higher platform than any other. Every delegation sat at the same level, in a circle where everyone could see everyone else. It was a stark contrast to the old council chambers where the powerful literally looked down on the weak. General Raymond Torres stood at the center of the circle, addressing the assembly. His military uniform had been replaced with civilian clothes. He was no longer a general. He was now humanity's representative to what they were calling the Galactic Union. We propose a charter based on 3 principles, Raymond said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. First, no species may conquer another for any reason. Territorial disputes will be resolved through arbitration, not warfare. Second, technology and resources will be shared equitably. No species will be exploited for the benefit of others. Third, every civilization will have equal representation regardless of their military or economic power. A Krell delegate raised one wing. What about defense? The galaxy is vast. There are threats beyond our current borders. Pirates, rogue elements, unknown species we have not yet encountered. We propose a joint defense force, Nina Okafor answered. She had been elected to lead the new Union's scientific council. Ships and crew from all member species working together as we did during the crisis. The technology will be shared. Human graviton manipulation combined with council quantum systems. Every species contributing their strengths. And who commands this force? A Yaltran delegate asked. Humans have proven they possess superior military technology. Will you not dominate any joint operation? Raymond smiled slightly. We will share command positions. Rotate leadership. The point is not domination. The point is cooperation. During the crisis, human and council ships worked together perfectly because we had to. We proved it is possible. Now we need to make it permanent. The debate continued for hours. Some species were enthusiastic. Others were skeptical. But slowly, carefully, consensus began to form. The new charter took shape through compromise and discussion. Captain Owen Briggs sat in the gallery watching the proceedings. Next to him sat Commander Rillian, the Yaltran officer he had worked with during the crisis. They had become friends in the months since, bonding over their shared experience of nearly dying to save strangers. Your people surprised us, Rillian said quietly. We thought you were weak. Instead, you were patient. You prepared for centuries while we grew arrogant. My grandmother used to say that strength is knowing when to fight and when to wait, Owen replied. We waited as long as we could. When the council forced our hand, we were ready. Do you think humans will share their technology truthfully this time? No more deceptions? Owen considered the question carefully. We will share what helps everyone. But some secrets will remain. Not because we want to dominate, but because we learned a hard lesson. Trust must be earned, not given freely. We will share our technology as the Union proves itself worthy of trust. Rillian nodded slowly. Fair enough. My people feel the same way. We have technology we have not revealed yet. Perhaps someday when the Union has proven stable, we will all share everything. But that day is not today. The vote came on the 3rd day of the conference. The Galactic Union Charter passed with unanimous support. 40 species speaking as one, agreeing to try something new. Something better. Lydia was elected as the first Secretary General. The vote was not even close. She had been humanity's face during the crisis. She had maintained dignity when the Council tried to strip her species of freedom. She had worked tirelessly during the negotiations. Every delegate respected her. In her acceptance speech, Lydia spoke simply. We gather here not as conquerors or conquered, but as equals. The old council failed because it was built on hierarchy and exploitation. The Union will succeed because it is built on respect and cooperation. We will make mistakes. We will have disagreements, but we will face them together, as partners. Later that evening, Raymond found Lydia in the gardens. She was sitting alone watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of purple and gold. You did well today, Raymond said, settling onto the bench beside her. I keep thinking about your grandmother, Lydia admitted, about the choice she made 250 years ago. She knew the council would eventually show its true nature. She spent her whole life preparing for a war she hoped would never come. And now we are trying to build a peace that will make that preparation unnecessary, Raymond finished. She would approve, I think. The point was never to dominate the galaxy. The point was to make sure humanity survived long enough to help build something better. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, human and council ships patrolled together. Former enemies now flying in formation, protecting trade routes and investigating distress signals. The transition would not be easy. Centuries of council dominance had left deep scars. Species that had been exploited needed time to heal. Species that had done the exploiting needed to face their history honestly. But for the first time in galactic history, there was real hope for change. 10 years later, the first joint colony was established on a previously uninhabited world. Humans, Vryn, Krell, Yaltran, and a dozen other species built a city together. Children of different species attended the same schools. Scientists from multiple civilizations collaborated on research projects. Artists created works that blended dozens of cultural traditions. The colony was named Hope, because that was what it represented. Captain Owen Briggs, now an admiral, commanded the defense fleet protecting the colony. His crew was mixed, humans and aliens working side by side. They trained together, ate together, trusted each other with their lives. On the day of Hope's founding ceremony, Owen stood on the observation deck of his flagship and watched shuttles descend carrying colonists. Behind him, Commander Rillian, now his second-in-command, joined him at the window. "We did it," Rillian said simply. "We actually did it." "We are doing it," Owen corrected. "This is just the beginning. There will be challenges ahead, but we proved something important. We proved that former enemies can become friends, that different species can work together toward common goals." Above the colony, human and council ships flew in perfect formation. The hidden fleet that had once been humanity's secret weapon was now the public face of their commitment to protecting all peaceful species. The heavens had shattered, breaking apart the old order built on arrogance and exploitation. From those shattered pieces, something new had grown, something better. Not perfect, but genuine. Not easy, but worthwhile. In the sky above Hope, the stars shone on a galaxy forever changed. Not by conquest, but by cooperation. Not by domination, but by mutual respect. The war had ended not with humanity standing triumphant over defeated enemies, but with former foes working together to build a future worth living in. And that, more than any military victory, was the true measure of humanity's strength.